Third films and trilogies typically get a bad rap. They have so much pressure on them saying they have to wrap up the story presented by the first two movies in a satisfactory manner, and also be a good film in its own right. And in many cases, they are quite terrible. And you can understand why some people might feel paranoid. And when I look at the Star Wars movies, however, if the original Star Wars from 1977 is the most iconic and important of the franchise, and The Empire Strikes Back is objectively the best, then Return of the Jedi is my personal favorite. There's just so much in it that appeals to me personally, that makes this trilogy complete and resonant. It just works in a truly profound and moving way. Now, I know this is the one that everyone denounces as the worst in the set of original Star Wars films. Maybe I can accept someone saying that, but this is miles away from being a bad film or even just a good one. There's so much genuine feeling that's executed in here. The characters are still fantastic. The story is still gripping. It wraps up the original trilogy in a perfectly emotionally resonant fashion. One of the major complaints about this one is the rebuilding of the Death Star, which, honestly, if you're looking at it from a perspective of a story, it kind of makes sense to me. The Death Star would naturally be the most powerful weapon that the Empire has ever had. Just look at Alderaan. Oh, that's right, you can't, it blew up. And it makes sense for them to want to rebuild it after the rebel scum destroyed it the first time. They want to be able to take down the resistance to their Imperial control once and for all. And to be honest, isn't the design of the second Death Star super threatening? It looks way cooler than the original. The skeletal look in the deep of space gives out a cold, super menacing atmosphere that represents that the clock is ticking before the war will be lost forever. People like to bitch a lot about the opening sequence on Tatooine and that doesn't connect to what's going on in the rest of the film. But you know what? I love it. Not only is there so much iconic material presented here, Jabba the Hutt, Princess Leia's slave attire, but it also means something deep to the character of Luke. He started his journey on Tatooine looking into the binary sunset, so it's rather nice parallelism to have him come back here after he's evolving into his role as a Jedi Knight. This time on his planet, when you're thinking about it, he's actively defying the overlord that ruled over him as a kid. That's a pretty cool thing to think about. I also really don't think his plan is that overcomplicated. If anything, the twists back and forth give us some incredible sequences, and if you simplified it, it all would just be boring. And that's the point of drama, isn't it? Well, what will we do without seeing the great Rancor scene, or that awesome scene where John Williams scores just hyping up the audience note by note until Luke gets ready to chop wood and murder some fools?
Kurs Yuma!
It's such an unbelievably badass way to conclude this section of the film. And now, with one of the major cliffhangers from the last film resolved with the rescue of Han Solo, we get to see Luke going back to Dagobah to finish his training and learn the truth about his parentage. Is Darth Vader truly his father? I'm sure many audiences back in 1983 thought that this was all a trick, and that Yoda would set things straight.
Your father is.
Nope. Darth Vader is definitively Luke's dad. And this means so much for what drives Luke for the rest of this film. He's learned as a person. He's not driven with hate anymore. He's driven with the desire to reawaken the light side of the Force in his father. And I love that. Jedi is 100% Luke Skywalker's movie. And if your big favorite character is like Han Solo, you may not like this so much. Seeing that he's pushed to the background for the most of the film, not exactly given a lot to do. But I think it works for what Jedi needed to be. This trilogy has always been definitively about Luke's journey. We've known this ever since we saw him looking up at the binary sunset, and it's understandable for the focus to be lifted off some of the supporting characters a bit as he finishes his arc. So Ewoks. I like them. I think they're cute. Never have I watched this film in which they've actually annoyed me. Sure, there's the bit where they organize a massacre of stormtroopers, but when have the stormtroopers ever been threatening? They've sucked in the entire saga. Their biggest success was killing Luke's aunt and uncle. They've mainly just served as a plot device of hundreds of minions to easily take down before you can get to your ultimate bosses. So this isn't that much different than what transpires in the previous film. And when people complain about them being killed with rocks and such, were they? It can be assumed they were just knocked out or something. And maybe once knocked out, someone else finished the job. It's not really something that bothers me. Ewoks just represent the oppressed natural species taking down the evil invaders, and I think that's cool. I also think that the reveal that Leia is Luke's sister also works amazing. I'm sure some have complained that the reveal doesn't really make sense and it's a dumb coincidence that one of the other main characters just happens to be his sister, but honestly, it works really well. This is a lot thanks to the magnificent scene in which the writing is sharp and John Williams adds so much powerful emotion to the score. It makes it feel deep, like the Force has guided these two individuals together, however far they may have been apart initially, thanks to the strong familial bonds. This moment feels so genuine and powerful and only goes further to establish Luke's motivation. In this story, he truly is a Jedi, and his desire is peaceful resolution to all of this. The space battle in Return of the Jedi is epic. It takes everything that made the Battle of Yavin so immensely cool and amps it up to 11. It's not just X-Wings and maybe a Y-Wing. It's all sorts of neat vehicles doing battle from both sides, and I love it. The way the camera moves around what is happening, you feel like you're flying one of the ships. The special effects are flawless and still hold up. This looks immensely real, and the model work and explosions are the best in the entire original trilogy. We get to see so many cool new characters, even for a few minutes. Like Admiral Akbar and Nien Nunb have such cool design and voices that even though they don't really feature in any of the rest of the films, you remember them really well. But in my eyes, the greatest scenes in this film and the entire Star Wars saga, every single film, the best scenes are the scenes between Vader, Luke, and the Emperor in this film. The Emperor is such a cool villain. You can feel his power emanating from him. Ian McDiarmid is incredible. Just his voice is instantaneously memorable. That gravelly enunciation is so much fun. His design is simple, just a disgusting old man with black robes and ridiculously gross wrinkles. I like how he's kind of cheesy. It works for what the character is here for. And man, these scenes can get super dark too, if any of that is completely offset. But the real heart here is the conflict between Darth Vader and Luke, where you can feel all of that genuine stuff they are going through mentally. Darth Vader truly believes that he is lost, and I love how you even get that bit of compassion towards Luke when he says, "It is too late for me, son." But Luke is surging forwards with optimism. He senses the strength of the Force and he is determined, but not before he is tempted. You are allowed a glimpse of Luke's dark side when he is tempted by the Emperor. And that incredible moment where after a mention of his sister he breaks and begins to wail down on Vader, channeling his anger with one of John Williams' most epic and underrated themes soaring in the background.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side.
And even after channeling all of that anger, he still decides not to turn to the dark side. He has achieved a balance of his powers, and it completes possibly my favorite story arc of all time. Luke has been through so much since the whiny boy from Tatooine. He has truly evolved, and would devalue so much if he turns to the dark side in the new trilogy. He's already been through that path. He fought and redeemed his father, and it's actually a big punch to the gut.
I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
You already have. Look, you were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right.
And lastly, I hate Yub Nub. It sucks. It's the most justified change in all of the special editions. Yub Nub does not fit with the feeling that you should feel at the end of the saga. But regardless of any other changes made to the ending, Victory Celebration might be one of my all-time favorite Star Wars themes. It's grandiose and beautiful. I love it. And our trilogy concludes, in my mind, perfectly. I love Return of the Jedi. It's my favorite all-time Star Wars movie. It's when all of the characters' storylines and themes conclude in the most satisfying way they possibly could in my eyes. Return of the Jedi gets an 11 out of 10. Screw you if you hate this. Thank you so much for watching. This series will be concluded soon by reviews for Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you feel sufficiently inclined, and may the Force be with you.